Howdy, y'all.
I'm Leslie.
I'm Laurie. Welcome to
Sumo Kaboom, where we talk about all things sumo.
Yeah, and today, this episode is entitled, Where Are They Now?
Yeah.
Because it's about what happens to people after they retire.
I read an article and I just kind of felt a lot of things, like a little heartbroken.
You felt things.
Yeah. And I was like, I need to look into this issue more, and I'll describe it a little bit later, but kind of what happens to the average wrestler after they retire. So that's what I'm going to chat about with you today.
Great. Are strange things afoot at the Circle K? We're going to find out.
Wait, what's that mean?
It's a terrible reference to Bill and Ted.
Oh.
Like what happens at the Circle K when you least expect it.
Oh. Well, in the case of Japan, I think they have 7-Elevens a lot. I have not seen a Circle K in Japan. I don't remember seeing that. But
do they have Buc-ee's in Japan?
No, they don't have Buc-ee's.
That's too bad. If you're living in a world without Buc-ee's, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I was in Buc-ee's and I was like, it's just too much. It's just too damn much. If you don't know what a Buc-ee's is, it's a convenience store gas station. That's like a football field in length.
It's everything.
In Texas, we have these, and they're like an event to attend if there's a new one opening. It's insanity. And there's like millions of people in there. They have barbecue sandwiches. They have walls of drinks. They have walls of snacks.
They have coolers. They have hunting gear. They have anything you would desire.
Yeah, it's like going to get gas and then going into the convenience store and then opening up into like a one-room mall.
Yeah. What's brilliant about it is whoever does their marketing has created this entire brand around Bucky the, I don't know, muskrat?
No,
I don't even know what it is.
Is it a squirrel or a beaver?
Squirrel?
I don't know.
But you can get T-shirts. You can get Bucky nuggets, which are like branded popcorn and food.
Nuts.
And I mean, and people walk around with Bucky's merchandise on, which is nuts to me because it's just a gas station.
That's true. But again, brilliance in marketing. And I know this is like a weird little tangent we're going on. But I went to Aldi's the other day. Yep. And Aldi's, I almost bought myself a pair of Aldi branded sneakers.
No.
Yes. And I thought, the colors are really great.
That's what Bucky needs next.
Is sneakers, Bucky's sneakers. If Bucky's would like to sponsor us, we are more than happy to take your money.
Like senior praises all day. I'm sure they have Bucky's. I've seen sandals. Like you can get
Bucky's
thongs and sandals and stuff at Bucky's. I don't know if they're Bucky's branded, but you can get some shoes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I've seen tennis shoes
I think it's universal for all of our listeners, though. I would like y'all to chime in and send us, what is your country's version of Bucky's? I mean, even in the United States, we have people on the East Coast who are all about Wawa, which is the funniest name. Have you ever gone to a Wawa?
No, what's a Wawa?
A Wawa is
just fun to say.
Exactly. That's why it's great. Is like, let's go to the Wawa. The Wawa is a really great convenience store. They have lots of like fresh made items. Like before 7-Eleven and everybody else was doing it, like Wawa was doing that.
I'm sorry, I can't say that without laughing.
I know.
The
Wawa. You got to go to the Wawa. That's great.
Well, I was just in New Mexico when it's all about the Allsups there.
Allsups,
yeah. You got to stop at the Allsups.
So tell us, just send us a message, social media wise, or else. I'm just curious. What is your country's version of a Wawa or a Bucky's?
Yeah,
just
or the Combini.
Yeah, and if you have merch from there, and should we invest in, for instance, Aldi's merch? I think so. Anyway, shall we jump to a newsflash?
Yes.
I edited it out last week because when I found the news that there was an upcoming belly touching event, I realized it was the same people from last year. And I'm like, am I seeing a year-old article? Because sometimes it happens when I'm searching stuff. You find articles that were posted last year and you're like, this is happening? And I just kind of second-guessed myself and was like, I'll wait to see if it happened. Well, it did. The very popular belly touching event happened again. It was on June 9th, and it was a good round of belly touching and karaoke. I mean, let's be real. It was Shodai,
really what it's all about.
It was Ura, it was Hida Naomi, and it was Sada Naomi, I believe. And it delivered. I have not had a chance to watch all of it, but trust me, I will find an hour to watch and translate everything that these guys say because I'm obsessed. I'm just obsessed. That's where we're at this point in my sumo craze. I'm obsessed with them on the dohyo, off the dohyo. And so they let a whole bunch of rando people just come up onto the podium platform and just graciously walk down and put both their hands on their belly. And they said, thank you. And each wrestler said, thank you. It's just a really strange thing that I just adore the Japanese for coming up with this, because it is exactly what you want to do. You just want to touch them.
Yes.
But you need permission. You need consent.
Yes, absolutely. I adore everything about it. Like the awkwardness, the giggling, the blessings, the singing. It has everything I love about sumo.
Yeah, it does. And it delivered. So you can see that the Sumo Kyokai official channel has that YouTube video up there, but we'll put it in our sources or our notes section so you can watch that yourself. I do wonder if these guys, I think they get volunteered to do this. So I don't know if they actually give consent, but I'm sure that somebody higher up said, we're volunteering you for this opportunity to have people touch your belly.
Well, I still think it's odd that it's the exact same people that they had last year.
I know. I guess they're like, if
You're
it
on the
ain't
short
broke,
list.
then don't fix it.
Yeah.
They're like it went over really well.
Could it have been that bad, fellas? Come on back. Or we're giving you no choice. You are coming back. I don't know exactly how they do it.
I don't know. Maybe another opportunity for them is that, hey, the more people that engage with us might be more people that join my sponsor club. And those sponsorship clubs are the ones that give them a lot of money, their fancy parties, and basically sustain them. So it may be another, outreach thing that they do. They're like, I got to be visible to be able to have people sustain me now and perhaps in the future, which is what I'm going to talk about.
We could have a Sumo Kaboom belly touching event.
I don't
It has a whole different feel as soon as we say we're going to do it.
I'd be fine to do karaoke and all that kind of stuff, but I feel like the belly touching might turn creepy. Well,
it would definitely turn creepy in the States.
I just feel like it'd be awkward. It'd
why
just be like,
I love it
so
in Japan.
Sorry. I know.
It just doesn't turn creepy. It's just sweet and innocent, and I love it.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if you noticed, there was this obligatory meeting. All 900 members of the JSA, again, had to have a lecture about how to control sudden anger. And
sudden anger.
Yeah, because this was in response to, I think, the whole Hokuseiho debacle and all of the Miyagano debacle and all of the harassment.
Probably it happens all over the place.
Yeah, I know they've had these meetings before. It was about an hour long and all 900 members had to be there in attendance.
I think it's great.
I do too. I just want that knowledge and information to soak in, perhaps, so that these guys aren't just like, yeah, but you don't get sumo. Wait till we get back to the stable. We can do whatever we want. So maybe enough brainwashing will, hopefully teach them, by the way, beating up on other people is not good. Only in the ring. Only in the ring.
Even if, these boys are living away from their parents.
Yeah.
They have a lot of emotions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that they're sitting down to talk about
Yeah.
feelings and what to do with them and, how not to take it out on someone else. And if it only reaches one person, it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, they were also told about this. They are the successors of the traditional culture of sumo. So all of that is wrapped up together in this meeting about how to basically be a good person.
I think that's awesome.
So
we could all use that class.
After that, though, I was reading a little bit about Shionokuni. Did you see his pictures of his haircutting ceremony?
Yes.
Pictured with his adorable 2 little girls and beautiful wife. His little girls were mugging hard for the camera, and I was like, yes to hilarious little girls. And some of his contemporaries cut his hair: Ryujin, Sada no Umi Tochiozan, Hokuto Fuji, Nishikiki Kaisei, Oki no Umi, who I would like to also say, I remember his haircutting ceremony, but you know how he said that Akiseyama's hair looks better short, not in the top knot? Oki no Umi looks better with the top knot, because I saw him with a buzz cut and I was like, oh, I did not think that's what you were going to look like. It aged him.
Must have cut it even shorter.
Yeah, he cut it really short. It's not a complete buzz cut. It's like a grown out buzz cut. But I was like, oh, I don't know. It changed his whole vibe. But anyway, that's not very nice. I still love the man of the sea, Oki no Umi.
Well, it might just be those overhead lights too.
Yes,
lighting is
not
everything.
It's not kind.
Yeah.
Chiyonokuni was interviewed, though, and I do enjoy kind of hearing what they have to say about why they retired. They can finally kind of be a little honest. He said about himself, he suffered serious injuries in both knees.
Yeah.
And he was in a situation for him that was difficult for him to walk for even 5 minutes straight. He said he was able to do what he loved until he could absolutely no longer walk. And so he considers himself a lucky person. And one other thing that I did not know was that his brother was a sumo wrestler who was supposed to perform in these, showcase bouts during his ceremony, but his brother had a brain hemorrhage, which is scary as hell. And this was his older brother, former Makushita sumo wrestler. And he was scheduled, like I said, to do the final bout, was unable to participate because he collapsed in April. It was a brainstem hemorrhage. And he said his brother has since opened his eyes and is said to be responding to words. But he said he's working very hard and he believes he will get better. So I think with the emotion that he had, having his top nut cut and everything, I think a lot of that was also wrapped up in the severity of his brother's injury due to sumo.
Wow.
So,
it's due to sumo?
Yeah.
You didn't say that.
He was a Makushita wrestler. I mean, people can have a brainstem hemorrhage, I'm guessing, for a lot of things, but... Yeah. I would imagine it had something to do with, fighting, but
he's active or he was active?
Yeah. He was supposed to take part in this.
Okay. I didn't know if he had retired before or because you said he was an older brother.
Yeah. He was just in Makushita. So, yeah. So I think there was extra meaning to this ceremony and I'm sure he'll be championing his brother. If you also missed the most exciting love news of this month, it's that Sweet Koto Shoho has been officially married for 1 year, but he got married in a beautiful ceremony this week to his sweet little bride dressed in a traditional kimono. And then she had a complete princess white dress with a long train and a tiara. I love that Japanese love traditional kind of Western weddings. They do one traditional Japanese and then they love to do the one Westernized ceremony. And they already have a 7-month-old baby who was pictured at the cake cutting who is adorable. So that was really, really sweet. In all this retirement stuff, Chiyonokuni's and who else retired this week, or Akisayama recently, but maybe I was thinking also about Chiyonokuni's brother. When you've been in the system, what do the guys that aren't famous, like where do they go, And I started to look into a lot of articles about sumo wrestlers in retirement. And then AI sent me like 5 articles about it is not easy if you never made it to the top 10%, because it's only really 10% of the wrestlers that make it to the top divisions.
Yeah.
That what happens to all the guys that don't make it and retire? And you always see after the tournament, these are the guys that retired, and there's a ton lower down. And it just really intrigued me. So I started reading some articles. And I realized that as much as I love sumo, and we all love sumo, we ought to care also about the wrestlers that we don't know when they retire too. Because they're all part of the system that we love, right? We just only see the top guys most of the time. I mean, a lot of people do watch the lower divisions and get really invested. But I would have to say it's harder to find. And it's just not as watched because these are long tournament days.
Yeah.
But they have provided so much entertainment for us. There's kind of 2 ways some of these guys go. And the advantage when you join sumo at 22 or whatever is that you have an entire extra 8 years or 9 years of schooling, right?
Yeah.
You've gone to high school. You have your GED or your high school diploma. You've gone to college.
Yeah.
And sumo has taken you the whole way. But you come out into the sumo world with skills, right? That can usually get you a job somewhere else. Like you've been up with technology. You have a degree. And sumo, for a lot of guys that we never see, starts at 15. They finish junior high. And then that's the end of formal education for them. And then some of them, due to injury or whatnot, don't make it up to the top ranks or they quit, but they've been in it forever. And there's a lot of guys that retire at like, because I'm watching this Kisei stable, I'm watching the Futagayama stable, and I'm like, who are these other guys that I don't see in top divisions? They're real people. They work out, but they're also working in the stable. Like, who are these guys? And then you'll hear that one of them will retire. What do they do? When did they come into sumo? And you find out a lot of these guys come into sumo at 15. They retire at 32.
Mm-hmm.
And then they jump into a world from the world where they're revered, respected, and then they go into a world where they have few skills in like a modern day, like workplace. You can't go in and just like apply for a job, an office job, if you don't have schooling past 15. And a lot of these kids too, like don't have privileges. They don't have cell phones until they've earned the privilege. They don't have television, or they have television. I lied. They don't have like access to like computers and stuff. Like an article I read from 2 years ago said a lot of these young kids come in, you get those.
You earn the privilege?
Yeah. This one guy that I read an article about, I mean, he's older, but he said he came out into the world of work trying to find an occupation at 32, and he didn't know how to work a computer because he just hadn't needed to.
Yeah.
And he was so involved in this sumo world. So they come out and to the world and they're kind of obscure, and all of that like favor that was with them when they dressed in the yukata is no longer with them. Their hair's short. They just come out into the world.
Yeah. Well, they have skills. They're just different skills.
Yeah, but a lot of those skills, these guys have to get super creative about how they utilize those skills. And there is like this cliche. From what I read, there's kind of a negative take on a sumo wrestler's going to open a chanko nabe shop. And yes, many of them do, because that is a skill and they've gotten really good at cooking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not every guy can do that, because every guy who does that has to still have the finances to do that. So these kids who have kids or grown men, they're not earning the top wages in Juryo, or, you know, they've done nothing other than have a roof over their head, meals provided for them, and prize winnings every time a tournament comes around 6 times a year. That's not a lot of money to invest in a property to start up a restaurant. And then on top of it, you don't have perhaps the skills to start up some new venture, because that's a world of business. What do you know anything about that? So I wanted to kind of chat with you about some of the routes that some of these guys have taken, but also I want to talk about what can we do? How can we support these guys from a distance? Maybe guys we've never really seen, you know, is it our tourist dollars by visiting whatever chanko nabe shop they have, but perhaps getting the word out about like, how else can we support these?
Help them.
Yeah. Because everybody needs support, and right? They've given their lives to the sport, and we've enjoyed the sport. So what can we do to help?
Before you jump into that,
Yeah.
what is Chiyono Kuni planning to do in his retirement? Did he say?
If you're a high up ranked wrestler like Chiyono Kuni, you probably have a pretty easier, like you could probably stay in your stable and assistant coach, you know?
Okay.
Only, I think it was 2 years ago, of the 89 wrestlers that retired, 7 of them opened their own stable. So that means all the other guys are either assistant coaches or left.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very unlikely. And you have to have an insane amount of money. You have to be able to buy a share, you know?
Well, sure. But as an assistant coach, you don't have to buy a share.
Right. And
yeah.
imagine the guys I'm talking about, the guys that we know when we see,
Yeah.
they usually can jump into
Somewhere.
that. I mean,
If
not
they
all of
choose.
them. Not all of them.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to you a little bit about one we all do know who was a komusubi, and that's Chio Tairu.
Okay.
And Chio Tairu, if you kind of keep up with him on social media, he, like everybody else, wanted to open this yakiniku restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And
Meatland.
Meatland, exactly. And I watched an interview that I think Chris Sumo did, which was him for 20 minutes talking about what made him come to that decision. And basically, he wanted to retire. He didn't quite understand what exactly was happening in his sumo, but he just lost power in the last couple of steps, is kind of how he saw it. He still could have gone on, but he actually saw that there was a good location, that a restaurant was shutting down, and it was in the location he wanted. He knew he always wanted to do that.
Yep.
And so he went to his oyakata and said, hey, I'm going to retire, and because I'm going to start on this next venture. And his coach was awesome. And he was like, whatever I can do to help, I will. Like, I'm fully in support of this if this is what you want to do. And he was like, kind of time was of the essence.
Yeah.
His coach came back to him, though, and said, hey, why don't you shoot for the November as well and see how it goes? And if it's not going well, then you can drop out halfway. And that's exactly what he did, because he went on and started getting his brain fully focused on the meat restaurant. And he was like, times that he got a guy, he had gone to a restaurant, and he had like a French background, a Michelin star kind of guy. And he said, hey, if you ever want to work in a restaurant with me, let me know. And the guy was like, I will take you up on it.
Yeah.
So he already kind of had this business thing going. And so the property appeared, and he managed to be able to make that happen. But it's an extremely difficult thing to do. He's one of the lucky ones who probably had the finances or the clout to be able to get investors to invest in him, because he's Chiyotaru, right?
Yeah.
As of late, you also see him doing lots of MMA stuff, which makes you think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's done some MMA stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that is also another route some of these guys go into, is that they go, okay, well, I wrestled this way, I can wrestle this way. And it must be, running a restaurant, there is no margin of error,
It's hard work.
And where he has property, where he has this restaurant, it is expensive. So I imagine if 6 months goes by or a year goes by and people don't know who Chiyotaru is, you still have to be bringing in people. So you have to make yourself available and seen in the world so that more people who see Chiyotaru in MMA will come into the restaurant.
Yeah.
So it's like this vicious cycle. And talking to Konishiki, he mentioned, he's kind of like this ultimate business guy. He's got all these different businesses. But one thing he says is that he always tries to employ the guys that he was in the stable with, because he knows they're really hard workers. They're really good workers.
Yeah.
But he did say that a lot of them don't have skills that translate over into the business world. Some guys become trainers. Tochiozan was one who had a trainer future, and he has his gym. An honorable profession, but not everybody can do that. Some guys, Yutakayama was the same. He became a personal trainer.
Yep.
And also, as of late, has been dabbling. I saw a movie poster where he's like dabbling in acting.
Yep. And this is how we keep tabs on these guys. When they start businesses, we can just follow their businesses on social media and see how they're doing.
Exactly. That's what I mean by like, how can we support, because if you live in Tokyo, you could have a trainer and it'd be awesome if it's Yutakayama. I mean, that'd be amazing. Yeah. But what happens in 5 years when people don't know who Yutakayama is? Like, you have to have a career that's going to sustain you, know?
Yeah.
So how can we help and get the word out? Some guys are massage therapists.
I would love to get a massage.
And that is exactly what I thought. I was like,
it would be
when I go over there,
it would be the deepest, like big hands all over your body, deep muscle, I imagine.
Right. Well, because they've done that. And there was one of my favorite stories about one of these guys that I don't know. He was around way before. This is kind of what happens. What happens after 10 years? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? You're a sumo wrestler. You're trying to make your way into the world. And this one was really, really cool, because this guy, he always had a dream, and that was to become a baker, right? Well, he gets out into the real world and he's like, I can bake, I can do these things. He goes and shows up and they're like, hi, you're too big for our kitchens. Like they literally turned him away because he's too big for a small kitchen space.
Wow.
And in Tokyo, or small Japanese spaces, that makes actually a lot of sense.
Like people can't move around.
Yeah. And so kind of his dream and everything he prepared for just kind of
he needs to come to America and bake here because we have he could work in the Buc-ee's kitchen.
He could.
Baking baked goods for Buc-ee's.
I know.
That'd be the best.
But this guy got really creative, and this is a really beautiful story. He started an elder care facility because he was one of Terunofuji's
helpers?
Yeah.
Skibito?
It's, yes. Scooby-Dee.
Scooby-Dito.
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo-Dito.
Scooby-Doo. I cannot say it. Anyway. And so part of his daily duties was washing the back of Terunofuji in the bath.
Yeah.
And preparing his meals. So that translates over pretty well to taking care of the elderly.
It does.
And if you need to pick somebody up, these guys are strong.
Yep.
And this older generation kind of loves sumo. So there's a real connection between him and his old days of sumo with people that appreciate it, and then him utilizing his skills.
And hopefully he does not have an anger problem. And
No.
is not taking it out on elder people.
No,
But he's been through all the training.
Yes.
So he's ready to go.
Yeah, he can care for other people. He has done that for many of his years in sumo. He's just taking care of higher rank wrestlers. And he also knows how to make chanko nabe and cook all kinds of things.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Isn't that like a beautiful story?
Yeah.
Another guy, he came out into the world and was like, nothing's really lining up. So he became a legal aid, essentially. It's like a legal scribe to help understand legal documents. So then he in turn helps other sumo wrestlers who, for instance, are trying to start up a restaurant or are trying to start up business. You have to have somebody, and this is not an easy exam to pass. So he had to put himself kind of through schooling and to be able to go through this extremely, difficult exam, but to be able to give back to the sumo wrestlers who he knew would not necessarily understand some of these documents you'd have to, and legal advice that you'd need to start up something. And it makes me think back onto Akebono when he opened a restaurant, and part of his thing about going into the MMA was that the restaurant failed. There were bad decisions made there, and that could be a pitfall for some of these guys who maybe get taken advantage of or find themselves getting less percentage of the profits with some of the people that they work with, So I'm glad that there's somebody like this who can give legal advice and to be able to advise these guys when they come out.
Yeah.
And some of these guys have generous stable owners who say, "Hey, I got your back." I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but it may have been Kokanoe. He said, "It's okay. Go do what you got to do, but you can stay here at the stable and have a roof over your head and eat until you get on your feet." And I don't know if that's the case for all of them.
Awesome.
But he said, when some of the other guys were like, "I have not gone home," because their oyakata is like a father figure.
Yeah.
Said, "I have not gone home for 8 years," home meaning the stable, "to tell him what I've done because I'm not yet proud of what I've done quite yet." So they want to be able to succeed in their next chapter, but they kind of have a lot stacked up against them, And there were 2 guys that were mentioned that had each been in sumo for 6 months. Some guys turned into actors and comedians as well.
Okay.
Which makes sense. There's a guy who turned into a talent agent for sumo wrestlers.
Perfect.
Right? So giving them another opportunity to be like, you can definitely do what you've been practicing to do on film, But some of these guys credit the discipline that the sumo stable gave them, even in the 6 months that they were there, for giving them the discipline to move forward in their careers. And a comedian guy actually mentions that. He's like, if I didn't have those 6 months in the stable, I would not know how to be organized enough and determined enough in the second chapter to move forward as I have.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it just makes me think, what else can we do to support some of these guys that we may not know, but may have businesses that are starting up, young guys? How can we help them? So I was like, we should have a database. Can't we come up with a database of sumo owned?
Oh, that's a good idea.
We have women owned businesses, or,
Yes.
How can we be sumo owned businesses that we could support in some way, whether when we're visiting there or to buy merchandise or to donate to?
Well, the easiest way to start this would be to ask our listeners, hey, have you ever been to a business, restaurant, massage parlor, elder care facility, bakery, doesn't matter what it is, Do you know of a sumo wrestler who owns a business? If so, tell us what it is. I mean, we can always start a page on our website that says these are the businesses that we know of.
Well, and we know Lynn Matsuoka's husband, who unfortunately recently passed away, but he was a sumo wrestler on Long Island in the Hamptons.
Started the most amazing restaurant out there.
Right.
Doing so well. Owned by his son now. Co-owned or partially owned.
But if you know something in your backyard, or some way we could help support sumo wrestlers in their second chapter of life, how can we do that as fans of the sport?
In the States, there's that restaurant. There's also people who are teaching sumo here in the States. You could take a workshop.
Absolutely.
With a sumo wrestler that's come here to the States.
Yes.
And learn from them.
There's Yama, who's now in Japan right this summer, but he'll be back, I think, in the States, and he will be able to teach workshops.
Yep.
And so I think he's in Kansas City. So there's all kinds of connections, and that's, I'm sure worldwide, there's other ways to support.
Well, here's another one. If you happen to be lucky enough to go to a basho, you can buy baked goods from ex-sumo wrestlers who are selling their bread there at the basho.
Well, Konishiki sells his merch.
Yes, he's got tons of merch. He sometimes sells spices, like barbecue spices. Mm-hmm. You can go to his website and buy direct from him. I think he ships all over the world and get all sorts of fun stuff.
And there's always there are tourist sites there that, for instance, have sumo and dinner, and you can go to the museum or wherever's close by the Kokugi-kan. You can watch guys wrestle, and they do a fun thing for tourists, but that's $110 for the meal, Or
even in the States, sumo and sushi.
Sumo and sushi.
Right? So there's some ex-sumo wrestlers that are coming to the States with Kanishiki to go on tour, and that would be one way to support them, is to go to that tour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So perhaps that would be a good challenge for our listeners. If you know, obscure or not, if you know somebody is a web designer, or if there's some way to I would happily pay a sumo wrestler to do some calligraphy for us, for our website or something, or a t-shirt or our merchandise. How can we make the connection between retired rikishi and us to be able to bring in some income if they're just getting up on their feet? And not everybody's struggling. I'm sure there's lots of guys that head right out and they get a job, they're teaching, but I'm specifically talking about a lot of these guys that maybe didn't get to go to high school or college. So they have to get a little bit more creative with what they do.
Yeah. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there can help us make those kind of connections, or can let us know about a business, and we will put it on our website and help spread the word. And, connect us via social media so we can follow them, and then we can get connected that way. We would love to help spread the word.
That's right.
Yeah. I just want to give congratulations to a lot of athletes that went to the 2024 USSF Sumo Nationals. It was on June 1st. Some of these people will be going to the International Sumo Tournament and could potentially be wrestling guys that will end up in the pro sumo world, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to give you names of people who medaled and the categories. Okay. So just big congratulations. I think this is the lightweight category in men's. So men who are, it looks like less than 85 kilograms, I think is what that means. Gold, Edobar Konyeha, who is usually, doesn't surprise me either. Silver, Oscar Dolan, who's from the New York Sumo Club.
Wow.
And third place, bronze, Gabriel Unick from Grand Rapids Sumo Club.
All right.
So well done to those men. Men division less than 100 kilogram. First place, Jared Falk. Second place, Joshua Crook from Yamamoto Sumo Dojo. And bronze, JJ Jones from Hono Sumo.
Yeah, we know JJ.
Yes. Men's less than 115 kilograms. Gold, Seth Adams. Silver, Daniel Avila or Avila. I'm not quite sure how you say that. And bronze, Cornelius Booker.
All right. We know Cornelius.
Yep. And then in our heavyweight men's division, congratulations. First place, gold, Jay Scriven from Mighty Equal Sumo.
All right.
Second place, Eric. I really have to learn how to say your last name, Eric, because I always want to say Hune, but it's not. It's like Hune. I think it's Hune. Hune. There's an H on the end. Huynh. Second place, Bronze from Dallas Sumo Club, Hayden Southall.
Wow.
So congratulations to those men. And now we're to the women's lightweight. First place, Madison Gwynn from W4R Training Center.
Mm-hmm.
Silver, Imari Colon from Raijin Sumo.
Mm-hmm.
Bronze from Hono Sumo, Nancy Quidache, I believe is how you say that. Women's less than 73 kilograms. Gold, Ashley Smallwood from Setting Sun Dojo. I don't even know where that
I
is.
haven't heard that one.
Actually, it says she's from Jamaica. Interesting.
Amazing.
So maybe that's why we don't know of it. Silver, Caitlin Jones from Dallas Sumo Club.
yeah.
And bronze, Jessica Hopper from Mighty Eagle Sumo.
Yeah, we know those names.
Yep. The next women's division, less than 80 kilograms. First place from Hanu Sumo, Paulina Jimenez. Silver, Leah Mankias, I'm not quite sure how you say that, from Hanu Sumo. And bronze, Cassandra Briano from Honu Sumo. We have a lot more sumo wrestlers to meet.
Wow.
Heavyweight women's division, first place, Kellyanne Ball from Yamamoto Sumo
Not
Dojo.
surprised.
Yep.
Not surprised.
Second place, Itan Perez from
Yeah,
Dallas Sumo
Itan
Club.
Perez,
both,
yeah.
both of those women were at internationals
Yeah.
last time. And third place from Dallas Sumo Club, Luce Garza.
All right.
Which is fantastic.
That is fabulous.
We have some junior males. I'm going to skip over juniors just because I don't think they can go to internationals. But if you want more info, you can look up all the results at smoothcomp.com. I do want to mention our open weights. 6 more names here. Female open weight winners. Gold, Kellyanne Ball. Silver, Itan Perez. Bronze, Christina Griffin-Jones.
All right.
And male open weight, gold, Angel De La Torre
Mm-hmm.
from Yamamoto Sumo.
Yep.
I'm sensing a pattern.
I am
Y'all
too.
studying with Yamamoto is a good idea. Silver from Dallas Sumo Club, Hayden Southall. Also studying in Dallas is a good idea.
All right.
Actually, anywhere in Texas is a good idea. And third, Eric Hyun.
I think it's
From
Hyun.
Hyun?
I don't know.
Honey. I'm going to just call you Eric Honey because that's
Well, go ahead and send us a voicemail. Or
Yeah.
we could
from
ask.
Raijin Sumo.
Yeah, because we want to be able to pronounce your name correctly.
And that's right.
But that's exciting. And for all of our international listeners, you probably have your own sumo wrestlers in your backyard. So I imagine some of them will be competing in international sumo here soon. So we're a champion of your wrestlers as well. We just don't know them because
Yeah.
they're not in our backyard. So.
Well, here's the thing. If you are feeling generous, several of these wrestlers are going to go to Poland to compete. And they are looking for support to help get there.
That's right.
So you could look up these ladies and gentlemen online and ask if they have, a way to take donations, because many of them do, because they're looking for funding to get them to help travel to be
Right.
an athlete.
Yeah.
So I think
they got to take time off of work and yeah.
airplane tickets. And I mean, if you're an international sumo wrestler, you don't have the GSA supporting you. There's nobody giving you money to get you there. You got to do it all yourself. So if you're feeling generous, you could, reach out to Kellyanne Ball and say, hey, where can I give some money? So congratulations to all of those sumo wrestlers. Well done. And good luck to you as you train for Poland.
So that is it for this week. Until next week, bye.
Bye.
It's just hilarious. They all.
Do I have something hanging on my nose? Did I have snot hanging on my nose that whole time?
I didn't notice. I just giggle at everybody touching bellies and then thanking them. I have to admit, I want to do the same.
I do too.